been a minute. Y'all know how I am. If I ain't got nothing to talk about, I ain't coming on here. But I know I have to do better. Anyways, this morning I was just going to talk about me and my family went to the movies this last weekend and saw Superman. Kind of, I wanted to give my opinion on it real quickly. I didn't think it was as good as it was advertised, honestly. Nothing against James Gunn and his version of the Superman. But I think my wife said it best. Superman got his butt kicked almost the whole movie. And that's kind of just ridiculous. I'm not exactly sure what James Gunn was trying to do. From what my sons tell me, that he was trying to make him a little bit more human, which, okay, but one of the first scenes, now if you haven't seen Superman, then, spoiler warning, but most people have seen it by now. One of the first scenes in the movie, he gets whooped on by this guy, and you see him crashing into the ice near the Fortress of Solitude. You find out a little bit afterwards. He's just bleeding out of his mouth and all this other stuff. I mean, just got whooped on by a villain who later we find out is quote unquote Ultraman, who was created by Lex Luthor. He basically cloned Superman. But at the beginning of the movie, he was dressed up as another supervillain. And, I mean, just got whooped on. And then, he was laying there looking pretty bad, and he calls Krypto. So they introduced Krypto, which, of course, was in the old Superman comic books way back. And then Krypto comes and, pulls him into, as you see after the fact, the Fortress of Solitude pops out of the ice, and, Krypto pulls him on in there so he can get fixed. But that wasn't the first time he was getting his butt whooped by Ultraman. And the other quote-unquote villain, the Engineer, who in the comic books is not a villain, but they made her into a kind of a villain in this movie. Again, created by Lex Luthor, according to the movie. She's able to, change her form into anything, basically, because he introduced nanites into her body, so she's able to change her form and do all this other stuff. Yeah, so my wife didn't like it at all. She thought it was ridiculous. She thought Krypto was the actual hero of the movie because he actually beat up folk. Had nothing wrong with the actress playing Lois. I think she did a great job. I think the Lois character was good. Jimmy Olsen character was okay. But I don't know. I thought it was okay. It wasn't like horrible, because I like the fact that the movie introduced the Guy Gardner Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, and Mr. Terrific, and as well as they call him Element Lad or Elemento in the movie. I can't remember which, but it's actually Metamorpho if you read the comics. So, yeah, I like that they introduced those characters, not your typical characters being introduced. They call it the Justice Gang, but we all know it's going to be the Justice League. They introduced the Hall of Justice. So, James Gunn is laying the foundation for future movies, future stories, and whatnot. But like I said, I think I guess I'll just use this phrase, the extra humanization of Superman made him weak, in my opinion, and definitely in my wife's opinion. My boys thought it was okay. They like James Gunn movies because he did such a great job, with the Guardians of the Galaxy. But I don't think Superman was that great. Like I said, it was okay. A good family movie. His parents, his Earth parents, a little bit different than the Zack Snyder version, but that was cool. That didn't bother me too much. Like I said, the movie it had the James Gunn aesthetic, so obviously it was totally different than the Zack Snyder Superman movie, Man of Steel, or the Christopher Reeve movies, which is what I grew up on way back when, Superman's 1, 2, and 3. So I don't know. I guess it was okay. I didn't think it was necessarily woke. I know that's been kind of the comments that other people are making. I just thought that they humanized Superman too much. He is an alien. He's super strong because of the yellow sun. And he didn't act like a Superman. He acted just like a regular human that could fly, literally. In a lot of cases, he just really wasn't super. I guess that's the best way I can put it. The latest Superman movie really didn't allow Superman to be super. They spent too much time trying to make him more human or humanize him, which I didn't like. Superman is Superman. And then the other thing that people didn't like is they were, and they did this with Zack Snyder too. They tried to make him a world hero instead of an American hero, which, some of the original movies and the comic book portrayed Superman as. And I guess that doesn't bother me so much. I get it. That being an alien, Superman lands on Earth, he just happens to land in the United States. But Superman is a hero that, regardless of where you're at, he's coming to the aid, quote unquote. So that really doesn't bother me too much. You expect some of the narrative to change. Every director is going to have a different, view of Superman. They're not going to necessarily be that comic accurate. Obviously Superman has power, super strength, he can fly, the cold breath, the heat vision, all that stuff. He had all that stuff. Like I said, I think my issue with the movie is that they just humanized him too much, that he really wasn't super. I didn't mind the change in his costume. That didn't bother me. My wife, again, she didn't really like the movie because she liked Henry Cavill's or Zack Snyder's depiction of Superman strong. He looked strong in his costume, where this guy really didn't look strong, and I didn't have a problem with the actor they chose. I thought, he made, a good Superman. That's fine. The actor's fine. I have no issues with the actor. But my wife's like, he didn't really look strong like Henry Cavill did. And so, I don't know. Like I said, the movie was okay, but it really didn't wow me. It didn't wow me. I'm glad it did well in the theaters, obviously, because I'm a DC fan first and foremost before a Marvel fan. Always have been, even in comics. Always been a DC fan. So I'm glad Superman did well. And I hope they continue to do well. And again, I have nothing against James Gunn. I actually enjoy this Zack Snyder movies better, but I have no issue with James Gunn. I just think that this Superman movie, and they've had many iterations of Superman, to include him being on CW and all this other stuff. I just thought that this particular movie, Superman movie, was mediocre. It was okay, but it was mediocre. And maybe if they make a second one, or if they do this Brave and the Bold and Superman, maybe it'll be better. Maybe he'll be a little more super. But I think this movie was really trying to humanize Superman, to make him seem more like a regular person, or more human. And that's okay to a point when he's in his Clark Kent persona. But when you Superman, you expect Superman to be whooping on folk, because he's Superman. You don't expect him to get his butt beat every time. Just about every time he fought, he's getting his butt whooped on. Krypto was more super than Superman, in my opinion. And I liked, Supergirl made an appearance at the end. That was kind of cool. Hopefully that movie will be good. So we'll see. That's my little review of Superman. Me and my wife and my sons and my oldest son's girlfriend, we all went to the movies and saw it. I think for the most part, people thought it was okay. But I don't think anybody thought it was like, knock me out of my chair, wow, kind of a thing. No. Again, I think they humanized him too much. He really wasn't super, and I thought the movie, in my opinion, was mediocre. But I'm glad it did well in the theaters. I am very glad it did well in the theaters. And we'll see how Fantastic Four does here coming up this weekend. I believe it comes out this weekend, so we'll see how that goes. But anyways, that's my review of Superman. If you like this video, of course, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. If you have any comments and you saw the Superman movie, please leave them down below. I would love to hear what you thought about the movie. And share. And again, I appreciate everyone that views my videos, likes my videos, subscribes. I appreciate every one of you. So until next time, God bless you.